This has absolutely nothing to do with trans people. This has everything, absolutely everything to do with gun control. This has everything to do with young people who go to school and actually have to go there and get shot up, them not feeling safe in school. The trans insurrection. Have you guys heard about this? Have you guys heard about the trans insurrection? So recently, Ali London, Charlie Kirk, all these people were talking about a trans insurrection in Nashville. There was this idea that trans people stormed the Capitol in Nashville, took over the Capitol building to, I don't know, establish a trans republic or to take over for trans people. And this is on the heels of the shooting in Nashville, where somebody went to a Christian school, shot and killed 6 people, 3 of them being children. And they're trying to tie, a lot of people are trying to tie that shooting to this protest and then be like, look at this movement, look at this trend of violent trans insurrection trying to take over the country. Now, it doesn't really matter to them that the police has yet to announce what the motive of the shooter was in the Nashville shooting. That doesn't matter. Some people are just gonna say it was trans ideology. They're gonna say that no matter what, because the shooter happened to be trans, right? And without any formal announcement of what the motive is, or without the manifesto being released, they're very happy to say that. And now they're trying to tie this to a protest movement in Nashville. Let's read a few of these tweets. Ali London, trans activists mob storm Tennessee State Capitol demanding trans right. No empathy for the 6 people killed in Nashville. Then Gays Against Groomers says, it's a transurrection. Get the FBI. To all these absolute lunatics, it isn't a right of yours to sterilize and butcher children. As in, trans people are just going out murdering kids, right? Next tweet. This is from the Hodge twins. We got a damn transurrection at the Tennessee Capitol. Then we got the next one from Benny Johnson. When Joe Biden delivered his Soul of the Nation speech, he said MAGA was a threat to this country. Trans activists have now slaughtered Christians in a mass shooting. Okay, so first off, it says trans activists have slaughtered Christians in a mass shooting. Number one, he says activists. Number one, it was one person who did the shooting, so I don't know what he means by trans activists have slaughtered Christian in a mass shooting. Number two, the police have still not released what the motive of the shooter was. So Benny Johnson is disregarding what the police say. He's disregarding what the local police department is trying to investigate, trying to figure out, trying to dig into, is disregarding what they're saying. The cops don't fucking matter. Fuck the cops. He has a narrative to uphold, and that is the danger of trans people. So he needs to make them appear as if they're like ISIS. So trans activists, what became one person has now become multiple people, slaughtered Christians in a mass shooting. So now when people read this, they're going to think that a trans activist, like a guerrilla squad of trans fighters, went to Nashville, shot up a school in order to advance the trans agenda, when it was one person, and we don't even know if it was related to them being trans yet. Next, and staged an insurrection at the Tennessee Capitol all in a matter of days. Will he say the same about them? Next, Ian Miles Chong. Transgender insurrectionists are storming multiple U.S. capitals, and there's complete silence from the media. So he's making it sound as if trans people are taking over state government after state government. They're occupying the state house, right? They're storming the arsenals. They're creating trans republics within the United States where they're going to forcefully take every child and inject them with puberty blockers and make them transition against their will, man. This activist movement has gone too far. Here's Benny Johnson right here, though, saying it was gun control leftists stormed the Tennessee Capitol. Huh. I thought it was I was told it was a transurrection by the Hodge twins, by Benny Johnson, by Ian Miles Chong, by Ali London, by Gays Against Groomers, by so many different this is only a few of them, by the way. I could do this all day. All these people were telling me that there was a trans insurrection. In fact, I even heard it on right-wing talk shows, them saying it unfiltered, that there was a trans insurrection. But now it's about gun control. Huh. Now it's gun control leftists storm Tennessee Capitol and politicize anti-Christian Nashville shooting. It is so funny to hear Benny Johnson, just out of the hypocrisy of it. Of course, the whole scenario is sad. It is funny to hear Benny Johnson in one sentence be like, these trans activists are storming the Capitol, transurrection, and they butchered the children. These trans activists, activism, and it's a trans ideology doing this. The trans people are at fault. But then some people go to the Capitol and they protest rowdily, right? You can call it insurrection, we'll call it whatever you want. But that is politicization. Saying that it's a transurrection and lying about it, that isn't politicization. Saying that it was trans activists, like it was multiple people who did the shooting, that isn't politicization. And lying, and it isn't politicization to say it was a trans ideology that killed those children when the police have yet to release the manifesto. That's not politicization, but people going to the Capitol and demanding gun control after 3 children were murdered and 3 adults were murdered at a elementary school. That is different. That isn't politicization. And here is Dom Lukura. This guy lies a lot on Twitter, especially about Ukraine. He's lied about the 2014 protest, the Euromaidan. He's lied about photographs documenting Nazism in Ukraine when he was using photos of Russian Nazis and trying to say they were Ukrainian Nazis. He has called Ukrainians coholes, which is a slur for them. Whether he got that directly out of the mouth of Russian state media, you can only assume. He says, this is the most violent insurrection in human history. Democrats stormed the Tennessee state capitol over LGBTQ concerns. Our state should immediately issue a state of emergency. The insurrection makes 9/11 look like an average day. Arrest the insurrectionists. Now, obviously, this has some like irony, or like he's purposely being facetious. But what he posted here is as violent as it got in Nashville, Tennessee, in relation to what happened there. Let's play the clip. Because again, it's called the trans insurrection. They're trying to connect this to children being shot up at a school. They're trying to say that this anti-gun, this pro-gun control rally that was held at the Capitol is somehow of the same ideological strain as the person who shot up the school. It's silly, but that's what they're saying. Without any evidence, by the way. Manifesto isn't out, and they're going to show the evidence of the violent insurrection. So here is the most violent clip available. And you know he would only use the most violent clip. Here's the most violent clip available showing the violence that occurred at the Tennessee state capitol. And that's it. That's the most violent moment at the supposedly trans insurrection. Again, didn't have to do with trans people. If you look at this crowd, it's majority cisgender people, right? The majority of the protesters here are cisgender. There was like a few trans people, but it was a majority cisgender protest about gun control in reaction to the Nashville shooting. So according to Benny and according to a lot of these other clowns, protesting for gun control in reaction to the Nashville shooting is you perpetuating the ideology of the Nashville shooter, which we don't even know yet. Very smart, very intelligent, great dialogue. Truly, our country is in a safe place with these people at the helm of the right-wing culture war. So I'm gonna play some footage of what happened at the Capitol. So what actually happened at the Capitol was not a trans insurrection. It was a protest for gun control, right? Now, there's a decent chance if you sat me down with these people that I saw some signs that said ban guns. I'm going to disagree with probably a lot of people at this protest. If they would ask me about red flag laws, I'd be in favor of that. They asked me about certain specific moderate forms of gun control, I'd be in favor of that. But you're not going to be able to get me in favor of just banning guns. You're not going to be able to get me in favor of banning the AR-15, at least not now. You have yet to convince me. And so let me just put that out there to know my sympathies are with them in reaction that to this shooting. We have to do something, but I probably wouldn't even agree with a lot of their conclusions about what has to be done. But this, putting all that aside, that's a Representative Justin Jones. He would later go onto the House floor and he would use a microphone to start yelling in support of the protests as well. This has nothing to do with trans people. You can say that Justice Jones, by taking a microphone and yelling and interrupting the legislative session, that was inappropriate. That's not how the legislative process is supposed to work. Maybe he shouldn't have done that. You can maybe say that, they shouldn't at all have yelled at the legislator. I think that's the silliest argument. They shouldn't have yelled at the legislators. They were too loud. But this isn't an insurrection, right? And when I think of an insurrection, I think of people trying to abolish the authority of the state. People are trying to take over and disregard the government and abolish the authority of the state. That's why when people say January 6th insurrection, even though that's not a word I use that often, when people say that, they're saying that because people were trying to abolish the authority of the state. They were trying to stop the transition of power from one democratically elected government to another democratically elected government in favor of keeping Donald Trump in power, in favor of moving around the Constitution, dodging it, and keeping him in power. And this was an event where over 150 cops were injured. Multiple cops died. Somebody was shot because they tried to storm to get to the legislators. To the legislators, they pushed back multiple police lines, broke through multiple police lines. There were no injuries at this protest. I think there was one arrest at this protest. Nobody got shot. There was no hey, we're going to stop the democratic transition of power. The most that happened here was, I think, the legislative session was interrupted by a few legislators who took out a microphone and started yelling in coordination with the protesters. Maybe if you want to stretch it, you can call that an insurrection. But even if we were to have the discussion about what the specific definition of an insurrection, this has nothing to do with trans people. This has absolutely nothing to do with trans people. This has absolutely everything to do with gun control. This has everything to do with young people who go to school and actually have to go there and get shot up, them not feeling safe in school because the school in their community was shot up by a gunman, killing 3 children and 3 staff members. They don't want to see their teachers get shot up. They don't want to see their janitors get shot up. They don't want to get shot up themselves. They don't want to see their parents have to bury them. They wouldn't have to see it, of course, because they'd be dead, but they don't want it to happen. And so that's what this protest had to be about. But you had everybody saying it was a trans insurrection, because if you can call this a trans insurrection and you've got people thinking, oh my God, trans people are killing our children. They're shooting up our kids. They're shooting our staff. They're engaged in terrorism. They're taking over state governments. Ian Miles Chong saying that there are multiple coordinated trans insurrections across the country. Then you could start to think, oh my God, trans people are taking over. They're going to get me. They're going to get me. The straight white man. They're going to get me. They're going to get me. And then you're panicking. You're fearful and you're scared of trans people because now trans people are a threat. They're a threat. Before a manifesto is revealed, before we know what motivated the shooter, before the police have given a solid statement on what pushed this person to do the shooting, they have taken the shooting, have now extended it into a trans insurrection, even though we still don't know the motivations of the shooter, and they're just making shit up now. Now they're just making shit up. We're going to see somebody punch a legislator. It's going to be some random person, addicted to crack or something is going to punch a legislator, and it's going to be now called, hey, look, that trans person punched a legislator. It's going to be somebody stubs their toe. Oh, that was a trans chair you stubbed your toe on. Oh, somebody, you lost $5,000 gambling. It was a trans establishment. The trans globalist elite wanted to take your money out of your pocket and make you deposit it in Las Vegas casinos, right? It was a trans woman that convinced you to watch that trans porn and indoctrinated you into finding trans people hot and liking girl dick. It is a transnational trans conspiracy. That is how it's being perceived. That is how it's being presented. But this event literally had nothing to do with trans people. It had everything to do with gun control. In fact, we can actually watch the people confront many of these legislators about gun control. We can watch it right now.
Today has made a difference. This is the voice of the people.
No, I think the most accurate way to describe what these legislators did wouldn't be insurrection. I guess you could call it like disrupting the process, because the purpose of this wasn't we're going to take over our legislative body and like stop you from, you know, electing legislators or even like really passing laws. Like the purpose of this was to bring attention to gun control. Again, like we're debating the nuances of the word insurrection here, but I don't think most people would classify this as an insurrection. And again, still, it's completely separate from like anything having to do with trans people. This has everything to do with gun control. You get the point. Anyway, I don't know why this was, I could not find any reason in my mind as to why this would be, you know, trans people, or this was the trans insurrection, outside of people just trying to dishonestly try to tie any form of civil disruption to trans people now. That's just what we're doing. Every single time anything happens that somewhat upsets you, it's a trans person's fault. That's what we're doing after the Nashville shooting, apparently.
Killed by DUIs and people that drive drunk like you do.
That's not
true. Wait, what? Wait, drive drunk like you? Did he just say the reporter drives drunk?
Guns are the #1 killer, and you want to put them in everyone's hands, huh, Chris? You regret the red flag law that you blocked? 3 kids dead. Would anybody support a red flag law in this group? It's nice and quiet. I know you hear me. Would you support a red flag law that might have saved those kids? God. You guys are unbelievable. 3 kids died, and you guys are just silent. Look at this. This is humiliating. I'm like embarrassed. Kids are here begging for their lives today. Begging, Justin. Begging.
What is your name?
I'm Jeremy.
Are you the person that works up there?
I'm one of them.
6 people lost their lives when they had a longer time to live because of them. It shouldn't be that easy to get an assault weapon.
Hey Cameron, did anything that happened here today move you at all? If you aren't touched by anything, these kids pleading for their lives today, thousands of kids here, begging for you guys to do something, Cameron.
Started pulling out a megaphone and shouting at members to incite riots or violence. You had people outside the chamber who rushed the state troopers to try to get inside the chamber. They weren't successful. There were members who walked out of the chamber that were getting spit on, harassed, and pulled into the crowd that troopers had to pull them back out of. And Representative Jones and Representative Johnson have been very vocal about January 6th in Washington, D.C. And what they did today was at least equivalent, maybe worse, depending on how you look at it.
Dude, he couldn't even stick with, this is just like January 6th. They disrupted the process, which would be the argument, right? They had to be like, no. You know that event where people died? This was worse. Not a single injury, but this was worse than that event where people died.
Of doing an insurrection in the Capitol. And so the consequence is it could be removal of committees, it could be censorship, it could be expulsion from the General Assembly, anywhere in between. It was an insurrection, and even the media who have been covering it calls it an insurrection, trying to incite them for violence and take over the House floor.
Inaction is radical. It is callousness, and it is a dereliction of our responsibility as lawmakers.
Anyway, that's enough of that. I just wanted to cover this because I kept seeing people say trans insurrection. I was getting really buzzed off by it because what the fuck? Because the thing is, the idea that 0.5% of the population, which is like, that's like the amount of trans people who are in this country, were able to launch an insurrection in and of itself is a silly concept. And where? Fucking Tennessee? Trans people overtook Tennessee? Really? Like, you hear that sentence, that alone should be enough to like immediately let you know that this is complete bullshit. Like, oh, trans people took over Tennessee. They took over the legislature. Yeah, good luck with that. But no, everybody just bought it and kept moving. Didn't give it any pushback whatsoever, even though it didn't have anything to do with trans people.